Hi there guys, welcome back to Dad Plays Stuff. Now, a little bit of a different video today. Today we're going to start doing Pokemon Wi-Fi battles in Sword and Shield. So before we get into it, please leave a like, a comment and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Now, as you can see, my team isn't exactly the conventional meta type team. I've never really been a big fan of it. I like using Pokemon I like rather than using what everybody else is using. So this battle, the second I saw the enemy's team, became difficult. I knew that he was going to set up the same way I would, so I thought, yeah, just get the sticky web up, that way I cancel out his as well. Now you'll notice with this guy, because he's from Japan, there is big delays between moves, so there will be instances where I've edited the footage to try and, make it so that it's not just waiting around constantly. Now, due to the fact his Galvantula is, well, it's a bug type, and mine's is a psychic bug type, I had to switch out. There's really no option. If I stay in, it's just going to get off some extra damage on me, take out the Orbeetle, and the only real option was switch. Now, I did make a series of slight misplays here, but in the end I feel it worked out for me when it comes to the end of the battle. So it's at this point I switch out into Dragapult. Now, it's the only thing I had that resists quite literally everything I think Galvantula can learn. I'm not 100% certain on that. But yeah, it seemed at the time the best choice to bring out against this thing. And worst case scenario, again, I could U-turn out. Now, I'm not entirely certain what he thought was coming in. I think Energy Ball was one of the worst choices he could have made as an attack. He probably should have used an electric move of some sort. Though he maybe only has Volt Switch. So maybe he just wanted to get the extra damage in. I can't say for certain really at this stage. So here is where the misplay happens. I expected him to Volt Switch out, so I U-turned to hit anything that came in. However, he decided to use Sucker Punch. Whether he predicted I would switch out, or if I would just go full ham on him, I'm really not sure. But either way, I failed to predict him and over-predicted. So I switch into Sylveon here. It's a really bulky Pokemon, and it doesn't take any super effective hits from this guy. There's the chance that I could set up with Throat Spray and Hyper Voice, but ultimately I decide to use Shadow Ball instead. I expect him to switch out, and it's likely the neutral hit that I'd need on the potential drill. What's that stupid mole? Forget the name of it. So it's at this point that he does exactly what I expected him to do. So I've have two real options. Either I can switch out into a Pokemon that can take the damage or the potential resistances of this guy. That could be my Corviknight or my Umbreon. Now, ultimately I decide to see what he's going to do and use Protect. Now later on I find out that this was probably the worst thing I could have done in terms of what the opponent could have done. He definitely goes for the easy hit and tries to get in a Smart Strike. However, he could have had another option and it would have been bad, to say the least. Now, for this turn I ultimately decide to just sack off my Dragapult. I don't see him being incredibly useful in the rest of the match. A lot of his Pokemon are just going to either resist or outspeed him at this stage. You know, Tyranitar's still there, he's still got that Toxapex. I just didn't feel like it was going to do much in the coming battle. Now I decide at this point to switch into Umbreon. It's a Curse set with Wish, so I can pretty much just set up against this thing. Though it is especially defensive Umbreon, it does have quite a lot of bulk to it, so even physical attackers, unless they're dealing super effective hits, it's not really going to take him down quickly or easily. at all. He is quite an annoying Pokemon to go up against. There's also the case of with foul play against melee attackers, he will deal quite a big chunk of damage. Now, as you just saw, he sword danced, which is perfect for this Umbreon because I can just foul play him and it would probably one-shot him at this stage. That is depending on how much damage he deals to me. But I yawned him anyway, and he doesn't like that. Now, he switches into Darmanitan here and it takes foul play to the face. Doesn't take it well. At this point, there is only one choice, and that is I need to switch out. Umbreon's not going to be able to take a fighting move from this guy. Now, the reason the foul play mattered is that if he was a belly drum set, he can no longer use his belly drum. If it's a choice banded set, he has to use either a fighting move, a bug move, or whatnot, and it locks him into that. So, whatever he uses, I can then counter him with. Fortunately, well, unfortunately, he uses U-turn to get out of the fight. In comes Grinsnarl, and this is probably one of the biggest threats to my team. It has a lot of setup potential and things like Sucker Punch. I expect it to use Sucker Punch, but I go for a U-turn just in case, you know, it decides to go for a bulk up. Now, he brings in a Sucker Punch, which takes out the Orbeetle, and this is a good opportunity for me to swap into my Sylveon, which will be able to do quite a lot of damage to him quite easily. However, things don't always go as planned. So yeah, I intend to use Hyper Voice. Now my Sylveon has a Throat Spray on, which will give him a special attack boost on using that. Pixelate then makes it into a Fairy attack, and yeah, crap load of damage. But the Grinsnarl unfortunately has other plans, and gets a cheeky little crit on me. Now luckily, looking at the damage, I still have enough health to survive another one of his Spirit Breaks, so the best idea at this point would be to set up a Wish, and then protect the following turn, then finish him off with another Hyper Voice. But that doesn't go as planned, as he gets another bloomin' crit, the son of a bitch. RNG certainly isn't on my side at this point in the game, as you can guess I was pretty miffed at the time. Now next we bring in Corviknight in order to finish this guy off. Either he's going to swap it out and save it for later, or it's going to die. Luckily, he stays in for the Sucker Punch just to get some extra damage on. Now next he brings in his Galvantula. Now I think he thought he was going to outspeed the Corviknight. Luckily, due to the fact of the sticky web, it allows me to get in a quick Brave Bird and get rid of this thing as well. Now, in comes the Darmanitan, one of the biggest threats on his team. Now, if anybody doesn't know, Darmanitan has a ability called Guerrilla Tactics. What that basically does is gives him an inbuilt choice band. Quite often, these guys are choice scarfed or banded. So he does big hits. Luckily for me, to get a super effective hit, he has to go for the Flare Blitz. And as you see, it doesn't go very well for him, which means my Umbreon, after killing this guy, can come in, and he can take a hit for definite. He's very bulky, and Darmanitan won't survive. Or he swaps him out, one or the other. Now, I decide to go for the Wish just to get some health back after he's smashed me with a Flare Blitz, and luckily he does keep him in. I mean, Darmanitan was pretty much dead anyway, it couldn't really do much at this point anymore, so it was kind of the only choice he had. Now next comes in Excadrill. Now I know it has that Swords Dance, and barring a critical hit, it's not going to be able to take out my Umbreon with one attack. So, thinking that he's going to try and sword dance and set up on me, I decide to go in for the foul play, hopefully one-shotting him. Unfortunately it doesn't go that way, but luckily my wish now kicks in and I've got quite a comfortable amount of health to go for another attack. And that's another big threat out of the way. Excadrill's one of those Pokemon that either just smashes you or, you know, gets smashed, I find. It's at this point I think my chances are kind of scuppered. I really don't have a direct answer for this T-Tar. With a Sandstorm up, it basically gets a crap ton of special defense on top of its already bulky body, and the only thing I've got that can technically challenge it is my Rotom, so I'm not optimistic. But still, I go for the wish and hope for the best. So now he decides to Dynamax, adding more despair to the situation. This thing was bulky as hell before, it's even more bulky now. Luckily, his Tyranitar is very, very slow, which allows the Umbreon to get the wish off. Now, I don't think, if I'm honest, it has a huge effect on the tide of the battle, but it is funny for me, to say the least. So down goes Umbreon, and I'm left with my last Pokemon, my Rotom Mo, which I'm not optimistic about. This thing has the special defense boost from the Sandstorm. It's bulky, it's definitely bulky because of how slow it is, so I'm a little bit worried about how next turns are going to go. Well, turnabout's fair play, and I will be Dynamaxing my Rotom, seeing as it's the only thing I can use anymore, and I may as well use it before I get creamed. Now out comes the Max Overgrow, and I'm pleasantly surprised. This thing does not take the hit well. It's basically a two-shot, and that's with the Sandstorm still up, so I'm very surprised to say the least. Not to mention my Rotom is a bulky variant, it's not offensive. Now he goes for the super effective hit in the form of Max Hailstorm, which I feel kinda was more of a mistake for him, because at the end of the day he's going to lose his Sandstorm, and it doesn't do a huge amount. On top of that, the Wish activates. At this point in the match I was feeling quite confident. His T-Tar had quite literally no answer to this Rotom. I was surprised by how bulky it was, or rather how ineffective the T-Tar's damage was, and he was running out of Dynamax turns, so he had a limited time to be able to defend against me. If he had Max Guard, which he does, he was only going to be able to block for one more turn, and then his T-Tar would inevitably fall. I didn't remember at the time what Pokemon he had up next, but I was pleasantly surprised when I found out what it was. Interestingly, if he'd kept his Sandstorm up, he would have probably been able to survive another hit due to his regeneration, but maybe that's just me thinking that. Now, as planned in the Undynamax T-Tar, in comes a Max Overgrowth, and without the Sandstorm as well, obliterates him from existence. Now, in comes his final Pokemon, and I was so happy to see Toxapex. Now, don't get me wrong, he can deal a lot of damage to me with poison moves, but Toxapex is generally a defensive Pokemon rather than an offensive one. On top of that, I'm not a physical attacker, so his blocking move isn't going to affect me in any way, shape or form. So I was happy to say the least, and decided to go for a big old Thunderbolt. And as you can see, that's going to easily two-shot him. Overall, I felt it was quite a successful battle. I've not played competitive Pokemon in a number of years. Not since I've moved up to Aberdeen with my then girlfriend, now wife. And that was about 5 years ago, so I am significantly rusty. So for example, my Corviknight is wearing an item that stops him using half of his moveset. Yeah, me dumb. Me very dumb. Overall, good game. Not bad for a team cobbled together against a proper meta team, mind you, but yeah, good game. So, that was the video. Thank you very much for watching, especially if you've made it all the way through. Don't forget to leave that like, comment, subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and if you enjoyed the Pokemon battle videos, please leave a comment down below. Anywho, we'll catch you later, and Happy New Year to everybody.